All right. So the agenda of this meeting is to like provide a demonstration to you on how we really deal with Salesforce, what courses we offer as part of Webshala, and there are some content I would like to cover on Salesforce. But before we
Mm-hmm.
head there, I just wanted to like give a brief introduction, like about myself.
Okay.
I'm Apurva. I have been working with Webshala for about an year now, like almost an year, I would say. We just started this whole institute of training last year during the
Mm.
pandemic. It was started off by Abhishek, and then he, in fact, started research more on different technologies and started to collaborate with people who are interested to teach. And one of my passion happens to be teaching, and I like to learn also. I like to collaborate with people, like network with them and understand aspects of different technology, or otherwise just in general, connect with
Mm.
people. So that's where it all started off. So now I have been teaching the Salesforce course here in Webshala Technologies.
Okay.
So before I get started with the subject, just wanted to understand about you, Manzoor, so that I know what you expect from us and how much you've known Salesforce. Are you new to it? Something like that. So if you can just give me a brief introduction, we'll take it further.
Uh, yeah, my name is Mansoor Pasha, and I have worked as a Python developer for 8 months in a startup company. And there, I am making the projects for college students. After that, due to pandemic, that company has been closed. So I am trying to
Okay.
learn Salesforce. I am new to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know that this is the cloud computing concept. That's
Right.
what I know. And
Okay.
I have a little bit uh, less coding option is also less. That's why I have chosen this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I get a brief idea of what you're looking at. I mean, I believe you were earlier working on Python, so you must have a little knowledge on today's computer world, like how things are set up and in terms of configuration, or also it could be like coding itself. So
Yeah,
I understand that. And your main focus is to learn this technology and second, like apply for a job so that you can
yeah,
seek back some positions in some organization.
yeah.
Okay. Well, did you do a research on Salesforce? Like, you said it's about cloud computing, right? And that is
Yeah.
absolutely correct. It is based on cloud computing.
Uh,
So, do you know, or do you want to chime your thoughts on what is cloud? Do you understand?
no, no, no. I mean, cloud is nothing but we can store or retrieve data from that. We can store data in legacy system is old system, right? Hello. Due to man beware of legacy system only the cloud computing have been risen. Legacy system. I thought about the
Okay.
legacy system.
Yeah, in a way, sorry. Okay. Yeah, in a way, you are right. It is a system where it is used to store data, retrieve data. But
Uh,
if you were to answer what is cloud, right?
uh,
So, one of the classic examples that each one of us use today is
it's a
Google,
remote server.
right? So, I'm sure you have used Google. Like, yes, it is a remote server. And if you take an example of what I'm saying, like Google, right?
Okay.
So, in order to access Google, okay,
Mhm.
do you
Okay.
have a server or a physical system that is placed in your house today, or is it in my house that I'm able to use Gmail, any products of Google? No, right?
No.
There is no physical server or something that is at our house that we are able to access Google. Then how are we able to access a product like? It is because of the concept called internet. right?
Okay.
So
Mm.
today we are able to use Google and its products like Gmail or Google Photos or this what do you call that, Google Meet, right, where we
Yeah.
connect
Mm.
just like Skype. So how are we able to do all this? Because there is an availability called internet. So the
Fine.
first and the foremost concept of cloud is you cannot use cloud if there is no internet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
you are planning to learn Salesforce. So when you learn Salesforce, remember that if there is no internet, there is no Salesforce. If there is
Mm.
no internet, you cannot write a code, you cannot build any products within the Salesforce cloud to deliver
Mm.
it. Right? So the
Mm.
first and the foremost concept of cloud is internet connectivity.
Mm.
Now the second thing is remote server, right? Absolutely, that's right. So where is this cloud? What is this all about, right? So
Mm.
if you just recollect couple of minutes back, I said there is no physical server in your house or my house for us to connect, right? It is
Yes.
because of this concept called many servers that are placed somewhere in a very remote location, and that remote location is nothing but a cloud that we call today,
Mm.
right? And what these servers hold data, of course, large amounts of data. Okay.
Okay.
And another thing is, yeah, so another thing is that when we talk about data, right?
Mm.
What data are we talking about? Right?
Mm.
What data are we talking about? It could be,
It,
yeah.
it could be software, it could be application,
Hmm.
uh, mm, it could be any platform, it could be
Okay.
any servers. Mm.
Yeah. So, whatever you demand for, right? So,
Uh-huh.
let's say, let's connect, let's answer this question of what data are we storing on cloud, okay? So, for
Okay.
some time, forget about the concept of cloud, okay? And
Okay.
think about the items that you rent on a daily basis, okay?
Okay.
So, what do you
Mm.
think are the items that you rent, Manzoor, on daily basis or maybe occasionally? What do you rent?
Rent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So what
Mm.
can you rent? Something that you can't buy, but you can rent, right? Or
Mm.
maybe something that you can buy, but you don't have the enough money right now that you want to go
Uh-huh.
ahead and rent, right?
Mm.
So what are the items that you can rent?
Mm.
Very
We can
simple,
rent a
right? You can rent a
car.
house, you can rent a car.
Car.
Exactly, exactly. So let's say you want to rent a house, right?
Okay.
So definitely you would not rent a 10 BHK if you are only three people at home, right? Would you?
No, no.
You would probably rent a 5 BHK, but you would not rent a 10 BHK, right? Because you would be like,
Yes.
why? Why spend simply on 10 BHK when only three people are at home, right?
Uh-huh.
So what you would do is you would rent something that you want based on your wants, based on your demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you are
Okay.
three people, so you rent what do you call 4 BHK or 3 BHK, and then you want some specific items at home, so you buy semi-furnished house and blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the same logic applies to a cloud. You cannot buy cloud, okay? You can
Okay.
only rent cloud on a specific demand that you
Mm.
ask for. So whatever data that you're going to write on this
Mm.
cloud, okay, it's
Okay.
all the data for customers, for employees, for business. So this whole data talks about 360-degree view of a business, of a customer, of a uh, product or a service, right?
Okay.
So it has the entire data. And
Mm.
one such data, what we call about, is the CRM data, which we will talk a little further. Okay.
Okay.
So what
Mm.
is cloud? Cloud requires internet. Cloud is a demand-based model. Cloud is something that you can't buy. Cloud is something only that you can rent on a
Mm.
specific need or a demand
Okay.
and for a period of time.
Mm. Okay.
So that is cloud. Okay. Now, how do you conclude that, okay, Salesforce is something that I want to learn? Right?
Mm.
Because in cloud itself, there are so many cloud computing technologies, and of course, one of them happens to be Salesforce.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So,
Mm.
have you heard of any other cloud computing technologies other than Salesforce?
AWS is there.
Okay.
Google Cloud is also there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So there's Google
And
Cloud, AWS, IBM Cloud,
Azure.
right? Azure, Zoho. So many clouds are there, and
Mm.
one of them is Salesforce. Is something that I tried to understand what it is today, right?
Uh-huh.
So why Salesforce, and what is this Salesforce, right? So Salesforce has three parts. Okay, before I get to the three parts of Salesforce, let me talk in general the three parts of cloud or the three
Oh,
models of cloud. Okay, and
okay.
this models will help you actually decide which cloud do you have to select. It maybe after this demo you may think, okay, AWS is better for me, or maybe you might think, okay, I made a good choice of selecting Salesforce. Okay, so it
Mm.
is important for you to understand these three models of cloud. All
Okay.
right, so the first model of cloud is called as SaaS. Let me share my
Yes.
screen so that you
Oh,
know what I'm talking about. Let me know if when you can see it. Okay,
okay.
do you see my screen?
No, no, I don't. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what I was saying is the three models of cloud, and let me write that down here. So the first is called SaaS, and then you have PaaS, and then you have IaaS. So these are like three definite models of cloud. Okay, undoubtedly. Now, have you heard of these terms? What SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS stand for, or what it really is? Do you know
Little
that,
bit in that.
Manzoor?
Yeah, I know little bit. SaaS is like software
Okay,
as a
what is
service.
SaaS?
It's a
Great.
software as a service.
Software as a service. Right,
Mm.
that is correct. And what
Mm.
about PaaS? We'll go one by
It's a,
one and then I'll tell you what each one are.
it is a
Mm-hmm.
platform as a service. Uh, and
Okay,
IaaS is infrastructure as a service, or else servers as a service.
correct.
Mm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Infrastructure as a service.
Mm. Mm.
Now, what does it mean? What does software as a service really mean in your real world? Do you know?
No.
Okay, I'm glad you could at least, abbreviate this words because most of them have just heard as SAS, PAS, and IAS, and they don't know the full form. But I'm glad you could tell out what each one were. So if you
Mm.
remember, I told you cloud is a rental model, right? And then
Yeah.
I also specified that you buy cloud, you can only rent it. So here, if you
Yes.
observe, what are you renting? SAS, you're
Mm.
renting software, okay? And what are
Mm-hmm.
you renting in the past? You're renting a platform. And what are you renting in the IaaS model? You are renting an infrastructure. So what cloud is saying is, okay, we have built this platform or whatever. We have built this technology cloud called cloud computing technology, and we have like three different models, which is
Mm-hmm.
SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, and you users can rent it from us. And what you can rent, either this, or you can rent all the three things. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Mm.
if you work on a SaaS product, let's
Mm.
say in future you will get into a company, you will start working and all that, right? So, and then you are put into the SaaS model. So, what is
Mm.
your advantages in working in SaaS? First thing, you don't have to code. Okay. The reason
Okay.
being, software is already a product which is built, a
Mm. Which is
product which
okay.
is built. Like, for example, your Gmail. So in Gmail, if you want to, maybe let's say you want to bring in a new feature, right? Then
Mm.
you cannot do that. All you can do is maybe create a folder, right? Do you have to write a code to create a folder on Gmail? No, right?
No.
Or do you have to create a code to send an email? No, because these are already some features that Google has built as part of a Gmail feature, and they're telling all the
Mm.
end users to use it as is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you want to do
Yes.
something, you have the ability to drag and drop, point and click, and all. So basic configuration, basically. So
Yes.
SaaS is such product. Okay. But
Okay.
let's say you wanted to do something which is not present within the cloud, right? Like, I mean, like Google has created Gmail and said, okay, these are some features and you can use it. But if you want something beyond that, right? Then what is Google saying? Google is saying that we will provide you one platform, and on that platform you can write some code and whatever and build any thing that you want, for which you require coding. So
Mm-hmm.
any PaaS platform you cannot get away. There is no shortcut. There is always a code required for a for a PaaS platform. And for
Oh,
here, it is mostly out of box features. When I say out of box features, they're already built, ready to use. So you can drag and drop, point and click. Okay. The third
no, sorry, I
one
didn't
is
get on. Didn't get
infrastructure
that.
as a
Pass. Can you
which
come in?
one did
Pass.
you did not get the
Uh-huh.
PaaS? Okay. So PaaS is platform as a service, and you understand what we are renting here,
Uh,
right? We are renting a platform. Now, why are we renting a platform? Okay,
mm,
because there are some things that you cannot build using this out of box. There are
okay.
some things that you cannot build in the software that cloud technology will provide. For
Okay.
example, Google. Okay.
Okay.
Google has given you Gmail, and it's telling you can use certain features. But
Mm,
then at the same time you want to do something which Google is not providing. For example,
mm,
maybe you want to send an email and every Wednesday the email should be deleted and put
mm,
into one folder, and that folder should be called as delete box or something. Okay?
okay. Mm,
So can you do this maybe using some out of box? Can you do this using software? Right? Maybe you
no.
cannot do it.
Yes.
So what Google will tell you? Google will tell, okay, this is something we don't provide you as part of our product. So you can build something, and to build that, you have to write a code in Java. Okay, and
Okay.
that code will be written on the platform that say that Google will provide. Some platform they will provide as a
Okay.
as a provider, as a platform provider. So for which you have to know. So that is PaaS.
Okay.
Does
It
that
comes
make
under
sense?
development on.
Correct.
Okay. Mm,
Now, last part is your infrastructure as a service. Now, all this while we'll be talking about, a cloud, a remote server, and etc. Right? But
mm,
other than the remote server, we may want to have a physical server placed somewhere within our company for intranet or something of that sort. Right?
mhm.
We may
Yes.
need it inside of our like maybe in your own office when you worked in the past, you might have something called as a server room,
Yes.
right? Where
Mm,
they would have placed so many servers. So there
mm,
are some cloud computing platforms which rent servers for you, where you can keep it in your physical locations, right? And
mm,
that uh, and those things that you can rent on the cloud is infrastructure as a service. What you are renting here is an infrastructure. Now, who is the biggest infrastructure provider? Right, AWS. Now, if you are looking to learn more on networking, right? So you must
mm.
have heard this term like networking, like the physical layers of network,
Yeah, I know.
how to debug if there is a certain security issue,
Mm,
right? So
yeah.
if you are mostly interested to work on the server side and improve the speed of the server and other things,
Mm,
then AWS is a good platform for that. But Salesforce is not. Why? Because
mm,
Salesforce only deal with SaaS and PaaS. Salesforce is
okay.
not into infrastructure as a service.
Mm,
Okay.
okay. Mm.
Now, if you Salesforce, okay, I would pause here and see if you have any questions so far.
No.
Okay, great. So then I will proceed now to the main part, the Salesforce part, right? So we
Oh,
understood cloud, we understood the models of cloud, right? And now we
yeah.
want to connect this with Salesforce technology or Salesforce platform.
Okay.
In Salesforce, they are like, of course, they call themselves as number one cloud computing technologies. And do you know the reason why they call themselves that?
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay. So first of all, Salesforce was a company who actually found out cloud computing, right? They were the first people who explored on this concept and came up with what is cloud, how can cloud be used and all that, right? So like you said earlier, there were legacy systems, like there was an Excel
Mm,
file, People
Yeah.
used to store data. Even today, without Excel, we cannot survive. But earlier, that was only the option, right? You
Yes.
you had all the local tools that you had to install, the Java applications you had to install. So all those applications you see is something that needs installation, and it is stored in your local database, meaning on your
Yes.
local system. Okay. Now,
Mm.
if your computer crashes, right, you have to
Mm.
reboot. You cannot send it anywhere else, right? You cannot
Yes.
get that data. What is lost.
Lost.
So that's why they are calling themselves as cloud compute number one cloud computing platform, because they were the first ones to find out about cloud. And the person who found that out is Mark Benioff. But yeah, I don't want to get into the history of cloud and who found it and blah blah. The whole point here is Salesforce is only into SaaS and PaaS. And what is the SaaS product that Salesforce provides?
Mm.
Do you know?
Oh, no, ma'am.
It is
Yes, of
CRM.
CRM,
Okay,
customer
CRM is the
relationship management. Okay.
exactly.
Mm.
So SaaS product of Salesforce is CRM, and as you rightly said, it is customer relationship management. Now, again, often people tend to get confused, or rather, they would decide looking at this keyword customer relation management, they would think it's only about customers' data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is not correct. I mean, in theory wise, it could be, but when you start working in Salesforce, you will realize that the CRM tool is not just to use or store the customer data. It is like the entire business data. It would include the employee, the employer, the community data, right?
Mm.
The customer data, most importantly, and all of
Yes.
that. Now,
Mm.
why it is called out of box or why it is called software as a service, that is the whole syllabus that you would be learning, because all the things that you would learn as part of SaaS is your administration.
Administration. Okay.
Where you don't have to write a single line of code, but of course, as an admin, you will have to know basic, what you call basic SOQL queries, right? Basic query, which you will
Okay.
eventually learn, okay, as part of the course
Mm.
and everything. So basic
Oh,
query you will have to know, and you have to understand navigation, right? How to navigate
oh.
within cloud, like where to click, what is a table, like
Mm.
in a normal database language you will see that there are tables, there are rows, and there are columns, right? These are the
Okay.
three common terminologies that you will use in a database. Now, in Salesforce, these translate as tables as objects, okay, columns as fields. So columns are called as fields, and rows as data, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. And so that is about your administration part.
Oh.
Okay. And what would your roles be? Right now, I'll come back to past, but now let's say you are interested to learn the Salesforce course. Now you cannot jump into development because
Oh. Mm.
first you have to complete the administration part, because 75% of Salesforce is administration.
Okay.
Okay, 75% you, because your entire database is in Salesforce,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because other technologies, you have a database in Oracle, you have to write the code in Python, pull the data from, you know, your Oracle database, then display it using HTML. So you see how many systems are involved, right? Or how many technologies or
Yes.
applications or software are involved. But in Salesforce, your database is Salesforce. Okay, your logic that you write is inside of Salesforce. Everything is inside of Salesforce. And what you build is all the admin part. What you have to retrieve or fetch might be code.
Mm.
Okay.
In administration, we have to just navigate and we have to we can create custom application also, right? In that administration.
Yes, you can create 100% of your application without writing code. Okay.
Okay.
But as
Mm-hmm.
your business gets older, as it gets more complex, right,
Okay.
they
Mm.
might start demanding more, right? They might think, okay, because that's how every one of us are, right? Like
Mm.
you buy something, you want to enhance that more and more, right? You buy a phone, you want to buy a cover, then you want to buy an earpod and all of that, right? So
Yes.
even when you start building something for your business, they will start with simple configuration. So you will have to build a table, you have to build columns, right? You
Okay.
have to
Mm.
build some
This
automation,
this
and
build
all that.
option,
So
everything is inbuilt,
anything
right?
can, yes,
Yes,
all
sir.
you have to
Everything.
do is point and click.
Uh, okay.
Okay.
Uh,
Now, what you may not be able to do through point and click is something that you have an option to build on the platform, and the platform that Salesforce provides is called force.com. Okay.
okay.
And this force.com is where you have to write your code to build something that is not provided in the CRM. So, for example, if you want to, let's say on every Friday, you want to send a pamphlet, or like let's say a nice application form uh, to register for vaccination, right?
Okay.
For citizens above 45. So
Hmm.
if you want to build a navigation with the name of the company with a logo in it, and make the make a colorful application, and then when they hit on submit, right, so
Oh.
you send it first from Salesforce, and when they click on submit, it should come and save inside a database, right? It should come and
Yes.
save somewhere. So that is something that may not be possible entirely using SaaS. Maybe you can do 75% of it using SaaS, but the part where you have to send the email every Friday,
Hmm.
okay,
Okay.
also can be achieved using SaaS, in fact. But what cannot be achieved in SaaS is maybe the application looking colorful,
Okay.
the application having specific logo, right? So
Uh,
that may be a problem using SaaS. Okay.
hmm.
And the second part is when they click on submit, the data coming and storing in a specific table inside of the cloud may not be or may I mean cannot be maybe achieved using the SaaS. So that is where you require a platform as a service. So that's where your remaining like 15 or 20% of it comes on the developer part of it.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is ruled out. I wouldn't even talk about the infrastructure as a service. But okay, so before I go ahead, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
In
Now
development,
talking,
which language we are going to use and
yeah,
what
in
all the things?
developer, as developer, you would be learning, just let me write here. So you would be learning Visual Force
Hmm.
as a front end, right? And Apex as your back end. And now they have come up with, now, I wouldn't say now, there is a new concept on Lightning. So if you're learning Lightning, then it would be components on the front end and Apex on the back end. So
Okay.
the recommendation, what we are doing right now is for everybody to learn Lightning, because this Visual Force and Apex is becoming very yesterday, right? People are not
Hmm.
opting for this. Every business is translating themselves and migrating to from Classic to Lightning,
Hmm.
right? So we are also recommending and going with what Salesforce is trending, right?
Okay. Hmm.
So it is recommended to do a course or learn Lightning, and then eventually you can, when you learn Lightning yourself, then you can like learn Classic also yourself. Like you
Oh.
can first take a course on Lightning and then eventually learn Classic by yourself. That should not be a problem.
Okay.
It's only the way it looks like. The screen looks different. That's all. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Now, the last part that I want to talk about is your career options. So, when you get into Salesforce, your career options would include SFDC admin,
Oh.
SFDC developer, SFDC analyst, right? An SFDC architect, SFDC tester. Okay. So,
Oh.
these are several options that you have in your career. But what you can become initially as a fresher, right? Like
Hmm.
in the first 2 years of your career would be a combination of admin developer or
Hmm.
pure administrator, right? And
Okay.
if you want to be more on the client side and get more requirements and all that, you would be an analyst. So in analyst also you have business analyst who's called a BA, or you can
Okay.
be a functional analyst. But again, about this, maybe we can talk not at the moment, but if you really take up a course with us and you complete admin and you
Hmm.
feel like really confident, you can also focus on the analyst part. Okay.
Okay.
And
Yes.
architect, I would like not any, I mean, specify anything at the moment because it's a total technical role. Okay. And
Okay.
SFDC tester would be the last option I would recommend for anyone
Hmm.
because the growth is very slow, and I mean, if you're not getting any other option, or the weight is too much, right? And if you're in very much need of a job and all of that, tester is something you can easily get, but it's very difficult to grow in terms of promotions, in terms of your hikes also.
Ye-
So I would recommend admin and eventually
I'm,
look at
hmm.
developer.
I would like to choose. I was looking for a specific role and a marketing cloud email specialist in Salesforce only.
Okay, so the
Uh,
marketing cloud email specialist is something that you may not be able to get into directly because, again, for even becoming marketing cloud specialist, you have to do admin.
yeah.
I mean, thank you for reminding me that because, again, in Salesforce Cloud, you have so many clouds. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so you have Sales Cloud, you have Service Cloud, your marketing, and I think that's what you are specifying to.
Yeah.
And you have iOS, you have
My
IoT.
friend is working on that. One of my friend is working on that. He told me that there is no less coding option. We are using only HTML and CSS. Mhm.
Okay.
Hmm. He told me get into that.
Oh,
It's
that's
easy. It's
nice.
very easy to get
Wow.
it. Uh,
Okay.
huh.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, that is easy to get in, but I want to be very honest with you. See, to get into any of this, there is no shortcut. Okay.
No, I'm not
You have to know
asking.
admin.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah, it's
Have to
easy to
complete
get.
the training without knowing.
Correct.
We can get in. We can't get in. Right.
Correct.
Uh,
First, if you do admin, you can get into any of these clouds.
okay.
Okay. But
Uh,
again, after you do admin, marketing has its own concept because it has something called as a studio concept. Okay. They
okay.
have something called as campaign studio, email studio, marketing studio. So everything there works as
Hmm.
separate chunks. And like you rightly said, it's very easy to self-learn that.
Hmm.
But what may not be able to be easy for self-learning is the SaaS CRM or the
That's it.
PaaS.
Uh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
hmm.
So
And
these are it.
how about the Apex programming? Is it difficult? I mean, what is there in? Hmm, I mean,
Yeah.
I
So
don't
if
know
you
Apex.
are you comfort because you said you were into Python, right? So
Yeah,
are
I
you
was into
comfortable?
Python. It's about 1 year ago, but I have not touched at that from last 1 year because I was
Okay,
into business. Uh, After
that
that,
is fine. That is fine. But when you were at it, when you were doing Python coding, did you really enjoy, or did were you good at it?
yeah, I was really enjoying at that time.
Okay.
When there is no money, there is no enjoyment.
Agreed. Yeah, and at the same time, I think money also comes when you like doing something, right? Because you're very good at it and you grow that way, and then money comes eventually to you.
Yeah,
So yeah, and at the same time, choosing a right technology, especially now, is becomes an integral part of your money also.
yes,
So the choice of going from Python to Salesforce, I mean, I would not comment on that. It's the personal choice. And but if you were to look at Salesforce, see the market growth is really high. Okay, that
uh,
is for sure because I myself started like I was into SQL and then I switched to Salesforce and then I never switched back after that. Right?
mhm,
I've been in Salesforce now for 5 years,
mhm,
and there is a tremendous growth. And to be honest, I started with administrator. Then I
Okay.
forced myself to code, right? Even though
Mm,
I did not prefer to code. Like you said, it's
mm,
at the end of the day, you want to grow in terms of, your personal skills or
mm.
professionally or money
Yes.
factor, anything,
Mm,
right? So that is where the efforts have to come in. But the focus first should be like, okay, I want to become 100% efficient in admin. Right.
yeah.
And then
Oh,
when you feel, okay, I am good at it, then you go for developer. Like you try to start taking small pieces of code and do the development. But to be
mm,
honest, not
mm.
everyone might be a good developer. Okay, like
Yes,
you
yes.
might learn
Uh,
it, you might
uh,
learn it, but how
I
much
know. I
ever
have
you learn
seen
it,
from my company.
yes,
Uh,
and how
mm,
much ever you learn it, right, you
mm,
might feel like, okay, why am I not getting it, right?
mm.
And to be honest, nobody knows. Whoever works in IT, like maybe 90% of them do not know development, but what they
Yes,
are good at is
that's
using
true.
Google.
Uh,
Okay, if any requirement
uh,
comes, right, if you are good at if you're good at typing what you want, right,
uh,
then that's where half of your work is done, right?
mm.
Because it's a matter of copy paste and tweaking the code here and there.
Yes.
There's
The,
everything these days available on Google, and Salesforce have their own Google, like it's
uh,
called salesforce.developer.com, where they maintain all the documentation. Okay, so getting things cracked in Salesforce development is not a challenge at all. Like in case you are put into it, I don't
because,
think it should be a big challenge, is what I'm trying
because
to
I
say.
was looking for as a Python developer only, but everyone is forcing me to do the with Python for data science and artificial intelligence. But I don't have that much time to mm, put on uh, put on it. That's the why I choose the Salesforce. It's a little bit easy and to get in
Yes, it is
for the
user
industry.
friendly.
Hmm.
It is user friendly. I think anybody can like learn Salesforce at any time without any prerequisite, which is the best part,
Huh.
because you don't need a prerequisite. Like for Java, you need to know OOPS, right?
Oops.
And
In
for
is this also
yeah,
hoops concepts also there or no man in Apex? I mean, I heard that
yeah,
JavaScript is
Apex.
also there in
No,
Apex. Hmm.
it is not all the time that you need JavaScript. Okay.
Okay.
Again, it depends. You want to reduce the load on the server and use the client side logic, and that is where you have to go through the script, right? But most
Okay.
of the things can be achieved in the Apex itself. The
Apex.
reason why people write the script is to become more optimized code, right?
Uh,
To use the best practice. They do the
okay.
Epic, I mean, they do the JavaScript. And yes,
Uh,
the Lightning has JavaScript inbuilt in it. Like you don't have to, I mean, you have to know the basics of JavaScript,
hmm.
but not a lot, I would say, because the backend of Lightning is split into Apex
Hmm.
and
Okay.
controller, which is the JavaScript.
JavaScript. I mean, what
Yes.
about the component you have that mentioned component as a front end? That what
Yes.
I didn't get.
Like how you have a Visual Force page, right? Visual
Uh-huh.
Force page is the front end for Classic.
Uh,
Lightning component is the front end for Lightning,
okay.
where you write the code, like how the page should look like. First of all, Lightning is not based on page, it is based on component. Anything that you see in Lightning is all related to components.
Uh, okay. Okay. Ma'am.
Yep. Yep. Okay, Manzoor. So, do
Uh,
you have any other questions?
no.
Be happy to answer.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah.
No, nothing. Ma'am.
Okay.
Uh,
So, I believe you are clear on the concepts. I will just update the same to
yes, ma'am.
Abhishek, and then maybe you will have a call from one of our team on what you want to really do next.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Manzoor.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.